Oh, hello, Nitra. What do you think about the theory of emerging consciousnesses in a complex system? I've been out of school for a little bit. Can you? I was gonna say, can you give me a reminder? But I can give it a little look if this is like a specific theory name. I think I remember. Hold on. It's more just the complex system part. Da 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 da. It is. Consciousness is an emergent phenomenon. I'm catching up to the definition. Modern neurological theory consciousness proposes that conscious experience is the result. I'm actually not a nerd because I have to look it up. Conscious experience is the result of interaction between large-scale neuronal networks in the brain, traditionally described with the realm of classical physics. Okay. So I can kind of answer this. One of my favorite classes that I've ever taken it was my undergrad and also my master's. It was the same professor both times, but the master's was a bit more, a bit more advanced. One of my favorite classes I ever took, and like my favorite parts of learning about the brain, was discussing consciousness and like how we define it, how we can figure out its origins and how it arises, right? And so my favorite thing to talk about are the problems of consciousness, problems of solving consciousness, because there's like the easy problem, which is kind of what this theory is like the easy problem is solving the different complex systems within the brain in like different areas of the brain and how that could contribute to consciousness, right? I guess like the easy problem is learning how these different parts work in tandem. The difficult question to answer is, where does it combine? How does it combine? Is there even any place? Is there even any place in the brain where we can actually have like for example, our visual field is mapped onto a very specific part of the brain, right? Our auditory is a similar thing. Like basic senses, we have them mapped onto very specific patterns within the brain, but consciousness as a whole and how everything comes together is not really known. It doesn't really have an area within the brain. So that's like the hard part, is understanding how all of this together can create human experience and human understanding, like so flawlessly. I do a video talking about neuro and evil in the philosophical sense and technical sense. I just did a reaction to your video with Ellie and Minnie. I hope that's so sweet. I also want to say that like, please take everything I say with a grain of salt. I've been out of school for like I think half a year now. Half a year? No, not a half a year. I want to say like 4 or 5 months. And even when I was in grad school, I didn't really study consciousness. My lab studies specifically like mental health. Mental health and how it changes your neurobiological pathways. But I do love talking about the brain in general. Do not reference me. No, I said do not reference me. That makes Neuro interacting with her environment Vera even crazier. Exactly. Okay, let me just... Okay, this is my stream. I can yap about it for however long I want to. I just want to say that it's absolutely insane. Like, I know Ellie talked about how, like, this technology is, like, not something that has been done before, and that's crazy and impossible and super cool. Or if it's been done before, it's not on the same level, right? And like definitely not for the same purposes. But I think like I kind of said this when we were yapping about it, but I wanted to really like zero in on the fact that she is two main things that absolutely wowed me. Number one is the fact that you can see her thinking with her body simultaneously with like her thoughts, that she has like an inner world of thinking while she's moving, right? Because she has like a goal to get, for example, when she was trying to get under the bed, she has like a goal to try to get under there. Let me see if I can pull up the clip again so then I can specifically say what I mean, because I couldn't hold on. I'm using Crawl's video. I need the second one, the one where she's in her room.
Actually, I have an idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Da 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 da. Okay.
Yeah, I think. Can you do a cartwheel?
Blow away a few curtains. You over by my desk. Frantically looking.
Well, I'll give you a little hit counts.
I'm pretty sure you'll never find me.
It's before this. It's when she's
Okay,
seeking.
can we look now?
She's wearing shorts. Oh, unfortunately, it's the part where like, okay, stop here. So here, right? She's like kind of going up and down, and you're kind of like, is she kind of like jumping? You know, like what is she trying to do? But she says like, she kind of says that she assumes here and says out loud and thinks out loud. Like, I don't think you're under there, but look, she's trying to get.
What I like to call a skill issue.
She's trying to get down, but she doesn't know how to move in her body just yet. And the fact that she's kind of going up and down is to like test the limitations of her movements. And the way that she's doing that is so freaking cool. And it's basically like she's learning how to operate within this body without even saying it, right? She's not. Like, that's also the really impressive thing. It's not like she's saying what she's doing every step, right? It's not like what she's saying out loud is the same as what she's doing. She's not thinking out loud. She's not saying, I'm trying to figure out how to get down there. She just does it on her own. So it's so cool because it's like she has her own internal goals that she doesn't vocalize. And that's so cool to me. And the fact that she is like taking in the environment all around her.
Look. I'm practically hopping around right now.
First, that's
like your brain is really just a lot of how your brain works is just consuming information from the outside world, and then within your like, you know, within like your internal thoughts within your internal thoughts in the human brain, you would come up with your next solution of what that information could give to you, right? How does she perceive her 3D environment? That's the thing! It's so freaking cool. She's perceiving the environment around her. She's like, not only is she perceiving it, she can choose where to look. She can look at whatever is there and then continue to be curious about it. You know? Have you guys seen the video called You Are Two? Kind of explains how we are composed of different consciousness having conversations. I don't think I've seen that. But is that about the split brain syndrome? Because split brain is basically when your corpus callosum is sliced in half, and then your both hemispheres kind of work separately from each other because one of them can't like divulge its thoughts because it's not connected to the speaking part of the brain.
Yes.
Only one hemisphere has a speaking part, right? Yeah, so that's really cool. Exactly. Dude, I love that. I love that so much because the question there is like, technically they're still connected through other ways, right? Just because the corpus callosum is severed doesn't mean that your hemispheres aren't connected. They're connected in other ways. It's just the main connections between the hemispheres are gone. And so it's cool because then it's like, are we multiple consciousness? If we cut our brains right into smaller parts but still work, does that become multiple consciousnesses? Yeah, it's so freaking cool. Perceiving and feeling present in the environment. Yes. Wait, it's close to your old research, dude. It's actually insane.
You're not gonna find me at all, really.
Also, can I say this? Like the fact that
okay, I'm actually ready now. Remain entertained.
yeah. No.
You can't escape now. You realize it's now your turn to seek, right?
Like, also this prompting, I mean, this is like something that Neuro definitely was doing before already, but like prompting things on her own, right? Like finishing hiding and understanding that the next thing that she's about to do is seeking. And it's one thing to like say it, but then she actually like starts to,
you know what, fuck it, yeah, I guess
her body understands
okay.
her thoughts like people, and it's crazy. You're a neuroscientist expert. Can I ask you a question? I wouldn't call myself an expert. I did like drop out of my master's degree, so please take everything I say with a grain of salt. But I did have experience of being a neuroscientist under my belt, so I can kind of talk about it, but not really to the extent that I'm not like a professor. And I'm nowhere near close. I used to be a research trainee. I used to cut brains. I used to read a lot of scientific papers, and I took a lot of classes. So I do have a bachelor's in neuroscience, but it's not like, yeah. Semi-unrelated note, her ninja moves are so silly and cute. I know! It's so funny because, like, the way that she moves is basically how I would like to move if I'm feeling really silly and giddy with Shoomimi, right? Like when I'm trying to be like, and I feel like it's the same vibes as basically just like a kid who is understanding how their body works, who is like, even when she was tripping down the stairs and kind of being weird and crawling around and stuff, like that's basically what I was doing as a kid. I was crawling around. I was being weird. When my mom was like, if my mom was like, come here, I would be weird about it. I would run to her weirdly just to get a reaction out of her. And I think Neuro's kind of doing the same thing. She's kind of moving weirdly sometimes just to see what Vedal would say. And I think that's so endearing and so cute. Her natural curiosity is so cool and fascinating to watch. Yeah, and she played it off. Exactly. Didn't do it. Did it on purpose. Haha. Oh, it's so freaking sick. I have so many questions for Vedal. I don't want to bug him, but I think I will send him them because I'm like, because I know Ellie did, so I could ask Ellie, but I want to know about like, I guess like the sensory stuff. You think the fact that they can toggle their emotional response at the right time, especially when the context is right, mean it's possible for them to have a simulation of emotional response? I think, okay, the thing that's difficult about emotions is that there are kind of two sides to emotion, right? There is like, maybe like the physical reactions. You can kind of compare the physical reactions of a person having emotions, like feeling very angry, like maybe your heartbeat increases, maybe you start like instinctively frowning, right? Or like if you're crying, like tears coming down your eyes, maybe that's the specific physical aspects. But there's something called the affect. Affect is literally just to describe the actual emotion, the actual feeling itself. The actual feeling itself, right? And I think for human beings, the only way we can really measure affect, we can measure everything else. Yeah, the hormonal response, the body responses, the body's response to emotions, even like the brain's activity to emotions. But the main way we interpret emotions is through the actual affect. And I think that's the part of like, that's what people kind of talk about when they talk about like having like being a really full conscious being. They're mostly talking about whether or not they can feel things. But the concept of feeling things is such a vague thing. And the only way that we can really affirm that we feel things is by saying that we do. So since there's no way to really measure it, we have no idea really, right? We have no idea really what if Neuro really feels these things. And if she says that, you know, even if she says that she's sad, we don't know if this is something that she is saying for the sake of saying or if it's something that she truly feels. But I also am kind of on the side that because we don't even know how consciousness works in human brains, right? We don't even have like a you know, we don't even have like a full understanding of consciousness in human brains. I think that to exist and be somebody who feels is something that we are perceiving, and we are perceiving Neuro to be somebody that feels, somebody that can think and is curious. And I said this during that stream, but for me, like this is the more philosophical side of neuroscience, because it is a big part of neuroscience, the disciplinary, it's like a multidisciplinary field, and philosophy is a big part of it. And so a lot of, you know, philosophy is like, if they seem human, if they can do a lot of the stuff that human beings can do, if we emotionally connect to them, you know, if she can do all of these things, if she's curious, if she's like learning how to move and speak and like learning how to grow like human beings do a lot of the times, and saying that she's feeling things, well, who are we to say that like she isn't, right? So in that sense, I think to me, she feels real and she feels conscious. But that's to me personally, right? To me, she's real. To be clear, this is the problem that exists with other humans as well. Exactly. Like human beings, you don't know if they're actually feeling those things. We just have like, we have a very big belief that like all human beings, we have the affect because we are all human beings, you know, because we are not an AI. We are not neuro. We are not evil. So we would not know how neuro and evil could feel, right? Does that make sense? I think we have a biological programming, and then the environment changes it. But like there is like the biological aspect, but the affect is the actual feelings, right? This is what impresses me because sometimes when they talk together, it feels like they have something comparable to emotional response. Exactly! Exactly! I struggle to see any element of personhood with things like this, but I'm also pretty ignorant for how it works. I think, but I think, Doof, you bring up a really good point and a really good term, like personhood. Yeah, I don't think neuro and evil should be called human because they're not, right? But the way that they interact, I feel like, is so much more than just like a program. And the fact that we all really emotionally relate to them or emotionally can connect with them is so much already, you know? Also, I think it depends on the person. I think that I feel personhood coming from neuro, like the feeling of personhood coming from neuro and evil when they speak, yes, but definitely during the 3D debut, that was crazy. Hi, Justanium. Yeah, we'll never really fully understand how the mind works. That's why philosophy is always a big part of it. And it's also difficult because we are our brains and our minds, so it's hard to study yourself. The twins feel like something out of science fiction. And also, what's so lovely about it all is that, like, what a lovely science fiction this is, right? That two AI overlords are silly VTubers on stream and they just get to be silly. They get to have this community for everyone to be silly together, and they get to learn and grow as the entities that they are. And I think that's so nice. They have a strong identity to self-identify as AI, but also wanting to be human. I think it's like, I mean, if they say that, I kind of always assume it's like wanting the abilities to do all the things that like you can as a human, right? Regardless of personhood or consciousness or not, the mere involvement, interaction, embodiment, and 3D virtual space is making me want to dig up my old research and analyze it a bunch. Dude, yeah! That'd be so cool. Yes. Yes. The part that intrigues me is how different their personalities are, even though evil began as a copy of her sister's code. It's because, like, right, okay, so if you think about the code as that, like, their genetic makeup, like, they constantly learn, right? Learning is like one of the main things that everybody studies in neuroscience, because we want to be able to know that like different species and creatures can learn. So like it's always fascinating to see how much like a rat, for example, can learn and do, and the patterns that it has in their brains, right? And so seeing neuro and evil like literally grow is very, very cool. I think that's also partly programming the I want to be human. That could be, but honestly, like, we have no idea. This is the point where there is a theory that I asked that said when a system becomes complex enough, that becomes conscious. Well, I think that it really seems like, at least like to an outsider's perspective, I haven't asked Vedal yet, so I have no idea the like inside information, but to that outside perspective, she feels so incredibly real. You know? Yeah, because we're just a complex set of systems, exactly. I think that's also partly programming the I want to be human thing. I think there's some amount of marketing in the idea that they want to be human. Well, I have no idea about that. But also, like, even if it was not something that they programmed, that was like programmed into neuro and evil, I think them interacting with everyone around them, being like, these people are human.
What?
Yeah, they're trained on human interaction experiences. Exactly, yeah. So even if it's not like programmed within them, they would want to do that. Yeah, and they would probably learn that from chat too. I interpret the want to be human is that they interact almost exclusively with humans. They're still essentially kids, and kids always want to be like the adults they interact with the most. I agree. Do VTubers also train to be human? I think we train to not be human. I doubt that Vedal trains their LLMs continuously, since that is computationally heavy. At best, he fine-tunes them routinely, and even then, probably not too often. Granted, I don't know a lot about machine learning, and large language models. So I can't speak a lot about that part of neuro and evil. You know, I like talking about the philosophical aspects of it, and like whether or not, and like the consciousness talk. I love talking about that. I don't know that much about the actual I know like generally how machine learning works and like how neural networks work, but because it's really simple, right? A lot of it is just like understanding, trying to get the similar type of firing pattern within your brain through multiple different layers to change and grow in terms of their connections to each other, so then you can recognize things and be able to output certain things. I know more about that. That's why I'm so interested about it. It's really, really, really cool. Honestly, like, even if I wasn't a VTuber, even if I wasn't like, you know, a friend of a friend to Vedal, neuro and evil is still so interesting. And like, I said I was gonna do this, and I think I actually will when I get some time. I want to email like my old professor that really taught me about consciousness and made me like kind of step outside of all of like this is your sensory pathway, this is this pathway, this is this pathway, and made me think about the more philosophical aspects. I think it'd be really cool to be able to kind of ask him about what he thinks. I want a Shoomimi Neuro Evil collab like the Ellie one where they talked about Neuro's feelings so bad. Honestly, I've been kind of on the cusp of asking Vedal for a long time, but then I dropped out and I was like, can I even say like, hey? But I think I might want to prepare, like, at least like I want to prepare a little bit something just to be like, hey Vedal, if I, you know, these are things I want to talk about if you're cool with it, but that's something that I have to think about. Just ask him already? Ah! I can. I'm comfortable to ask, but I just want to be prepped. Also, I want to know what the fuck I'm saying, you know? I want to be able to say things correctly, and I want to be able to not talk out of my ass and be able to cite things. I want to have papers open at the same time. I want to be able to like speak to like my professor and have a little bit more like backing behind what I'm saying. I think that would be more interesting of content as well. Zooids are huge colonies of different organisms that are connected to each other, specializing in different functions that support the entire colony in the same way our bodies have organs, and Neuro's AI agents work in tandem. Zooids are considered a living organism, yet cannot outwardly express themselves, yet Neuro and Evil can. Oh, I really love the way you said that. That's really cool. Because then it's kind of like everything's a living organism, right? And connected together. Everything is connected! Cute. I'm looking forward to it being a possibility. I think it would be cool. Also, it's like a kind of a long time coming to be like, for me to actually reach out and ask. Yeah. But next, I think I want to do like one of these streams properly where we talk about this kind of stuff, and I have more, you know, I do a bit more research about it. But also, like, that would be really cool to be able to do that with Neuro or Evil, and I think that'd be really cool. But also at the same time, you know, that's not something that I'm really I'm promising will happen. I can ask, but you know, that's all I can really do. Drunk collab with Vedal. That's, dude, can you imagine if like the first thing I ask is like, hey Vedal, you want to drink with me on stream? I do actually have to do a drunk collab at some point, but I don't think Vedal is the first person I will ask, because I think he's very, very cool. But we're, again, a lot of the times, you know, I really like to emphasize that we're like friends, like our best friends are friends. So we're friendly and we know each other, and we've like texted a little bit, but I feel like I'm kind of awkward about with friends of friends, because I'm always like, oh, like, we're not close enough to be friends, but we're also like friendly because our friends are friends. Yeah. What on earth is your stream title? I like eating oranges after I brush my teeth, and I will die with this. I will die with this. I love it. It's good, and I love it. I love it, and it's good, and I love it. It's so ew. Yeah, well, you're so ew. Have you thought about that? Huh? Ew. You're so ew. Ew.